All right, hi, good people. I'm Bernita, of course. So this video is going to be very different. It is April 23rd. I typically go live. I've started probably about a month now, going at the time of this recording, going live 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday around between 10 and 11:30ish, right? So it is 9:20. And then the song I was listening to, what is it? Fear is Not My Future by Todd Galbraith featuring Tasha Cobbs. Now he has a whole nother song that I love, and it was, I think, it was a year ago, but I'm always kind of after the fact on certain things, which is cool. All right, so the reason why I'm not doing this live, I am going to share it, but I didn't know like fully the direction I wanted to go. So if there were moments where I was babbling or staring off into space, I wanted to be able to edit those, but I still wanted it to be as genuine as possible. But because this was like spur of the moment, I was like, okay, let me record first. So it's not that I'm editing out things I don't want you to hear, but like I said, if I'm like, then I want to cut that out because sometimes the pauses can be very long. Oh, but it's been an interesting morning. So today is the day that I'm starting my leverage and lead your expertise and experience challenge. Short is leverage and lead challenge, LLC, because we like cute little acronyms, and yeah, we like those things and catchy titles, but that's the full title. And I was like, okay, something totally different. And I was like, all right, I've been putting it out there. I didn't do this whole like come, every I didn't do the typical uh like the steps that you would typically do. This was an idea, go ahead and get it done. I have been in a transition about what I wanted to do with business and in the direction I wanted to go. And it has been a 5 year journey, honestly, about just everything. Even before I got fired from being a college professor and a consultant from a robotics company, that was in 2021, but that's still a long time because we're in 2024. But I know God has given me a vision for a lot of different things. But let's talk specifically about the area of business and entrepreneurship. If you have followed me for any point of time, I have tried a whole bunch of things. Like just let me do it. And at first, I didn't think that I was this risk taker or I was this adventurous. But then I just look back over my life. I'm like, yeah, chick, yes, you do. You go do the most. And then I have people around me who remind me of that because it's kind of like my norm. But then when things don't work out for me, I tend to be more quiet because I'm like, I am usually the go to or the gold star chick, the high achiever that gets things done, not just achieving, but actually accomplishing them. And so when the idea about really going into business, maybe around 20, look, knows we're not starting that, 2016 or something, I don't know, somewhere in my doctoral program. But I won't go into me doing entrepreneur work and starting business ventures have always been a part of my life. I've never shared it, but it's always been like an addition to. I've always had multiple things to going on, whether that was tutoring, braiding, which I don't like to tutor. So it was like a different type of tutoring that I did. And then, I didn't want to do that. I was going to start a tutoring company. I tried to do that, doing a lot of e-commerce things, not business, travel. I got hooked up with some of those things, writing curriculum for people outside of just the school district, having a side job when I was a teacher and, working Boys and Girls Club. What else? Just a lot of different things that I didn't connect to into it. So this entrepreneurial background or this business, because I do see them as two different things. An entrepreneur is someone who uses their insight, solves problems, they're really innovative, and they use their problem solving skills, maybe a lot from what they've learned, what they've seen, and it's just, from the inside out kind of thing. That's how I see it. And then business owners, I may take something, let's say like an idea of a franchise or selling a product. Not that entrepreneurs can't sell products, but you know what I mean. So I think like, let me go get this McDonald's or let me go get this car wash or let me start these products, on Amazon or a health wellness, something similar to what I did before, and let that be a business. Now, you can be both, you can be one or the other. There's no rank in those, but I do see them as two different things. And I realize that a lot of people who try to be entrepreneurs are really more gifted in starting business ventures. Let me buy something, build up, and sell it. And then, not saying that entrepreneurs, anyway, I'm getting down the rabbit hole. But anyway, I saw them as two different things. Where was I going with that? So I've always dabbled in some part of that. And I didn't realize that. I did not realize it because I used to think like, well, that's not me. And then when I got to my doctoral program, I started focusing more on being a consultant. And to me, it wasn't even like business thing. It was just like, oh, this is something you do on the side. So the key thing, if you're going to take away, is you got to focus your mindset and change your perspective about whatever you are doing. You have to give context to everything that you're doing, because if you don't, you're going to just operate just how you showed up to it. That is how you're going to show up and doing the thing. I hope that makes sense. So just like I was acting like consultant was just this side thing, it was just like this side thing of how I approached it. Did I make money doing it? Absolutely. Could it have been more and scaled and grown bigger? Absolutely. Had I had the concept, but I didn't have the guidance and things in front of me to do that. So I started a company with the name, and that was like for somebody who saw me I won't get into it, but it was just like some people you just don't take advice from, but it got me started. So no judgment there. And I started doing the thing, but didn't really understand business finance and growth. And that's another thing people forget about. Yes, it is easy to start a business or a company, just do the paperwork. But the understanding of everything behind it, that's where people fall off. And it's not the skill set of the thing, it's the skill set of entrepreneurship and business where people fall off. I fell off, but good thing I'm a fast learner, right? And a thorough learner. All right, so what am I here to share? Which is so much that I wanted to share. So this is the day of my challenge, and it is in a completely different direction. I was so focused on, okay, let me back up. And I'm looking at I have kept my vision boards, I think from like 2017 all the way to like 2021. But I didn't, and then I had some visual like on my phone, but actual like vision boards. I have those over there. So I'm looking at one of them. So this is how because I couldn't remember the year, and I'm looking at it. God gave me a vision in the business space in 2020. And I would go get up to go get it, but it says digital entrepreneur. And then I have a picture of me and my sister. And then the name of my YouTube channel was Dr. Renita Educates. And then I changed that. And then I have a picture of Marie Forleo, because at that time I got introduced to her around like 2019, but then still didn't make a connection. I was like, oh, she's just somebody over here, but I love what she's doing. I love what she's saying, right? So I got the vision of what God told me to do. And I was on that track to do that. It was really to grow every area about being a college professor, which we had to teach, speak, write. You didn't have to consult, but a lot of professors did do consulting work using what we knew. That was my thing, to grow that after I stopped wanting to be the president of a university. All right. So that's what I wanted to do. God was already telling me, like, well, I noticed in hindsight, he was like, something's about to happen. So I need you to get it together. I didn't heed that warning. I was so focused on, I don't like this job. No, I don't like what's happening with the people at this job. Once I got into my groove of being a college professor, I actually loved being a college professor because I didn't work hard. I didn't work hard. I was great at what I did. I prepared for what I did, so it came out effortlessly. But it was just the people. And I was so ready to leave that I did not focus on what God told me to focus on. And in my training, I am going to talk more about that difference, the mindset of having one stream of income versus the mindset of having 7 to 8 streams of income. You may not have them all at one time, but spiritually speaking, God gives us insight to what's about to happen. It is up to us to take heed. I did not take heed, but that's okay. So I was on the track to doing that. Went to a conference, and I don't know, I'll share the full story later at some point. But I went to a conference thinking that I wanted to do speaking, but then tapped into personal development. Now, it let me say this, all things work for the good of God. God uses all things to work for his good when you get back into alignment with him. That doesn't mean that everything that's going to happen to you is good. And I think that's a misconception that a lot of us have, especially as believers. Like, well, if it's not good, it's not God. That's not true. God is sovereign. He knows good and bad, and he allows those things, to a point. And so you have to change your perspective on that. Take notes, because I don't have notes, so take notes. You have to change your perspective about that as well. When things are not working, or it feels like things are under attack, like you're under attack and this, that, and the other, is still a good thing. It is still going to work for your good when you come on the other side of that. But you have to believe that you're going to come on the other side of that. Now, spiritually speaking, I won't get too deep into that. You got to look at you and make sure that you didn't cause some things to unlock and come at you. So God does, like, we all will encounter troubles and tribulations. Jesus said that. However, those troubles and tribulations don't, they have a season, but sometimes the way we reacted, those seasons are extended because of us. God allows, and he's like, all right, on your way out. But then we do things and extend that time until we learn the lesson. Children of Israel, 11-day journey turned to 40 years. All right. So I'm doing all of this. Now, mind you, God had told me, now let me back up. Way back when I don't know if I was working at the school district somewhere, and I remember I wrote this down. It had to be 20. I don't fully remember, but I remember writing on the piece of paper, and what I originally wanted to do was to have a super consultant agency where we went to school districts, and I knew how all of the different content areas worked, and I wanted to have coaches under me. And this was way before, like, the I knew about the world of coaching. I just knew academic coaching back in 2010. That's the only coaching I knew. Didn't think to translate it. You got to pick up on these clues. Learn from my mistakes, okay? Learn from my wisdom. So I didn't pick up on the clues. And I know, Holy Spirit, Jesus, angels, all of them was like, yo, chick, but I still, anyway. So I wanted to have different consultants who specialize in those areas, but understood my framework and my perspective on how to get that information out to the teachers and the students. I had this great framework. I knew how it all worked. And I knew that it worked because, you want to know how? I wrote a kind of map curriculum for my mathematics teachers. And when I went to go get my doctorate degree, the school district was using my exact framework for all of the content areas. I kid you not, I got people who can back me up on that. But again, did not recognize what I had, pearls to swines, but whatever. All right. But I didn't have anybody around me to nurture and cultivate that. And then I didn't use the sense that I had to go to the Bible and learn to cultivate that. And I'm saying that as believers because sometimes, we try to look so much for external solutions when God has given us. Now, had I been really into the word to understand, okay, God, you're telling me to do something, now show me where to go, he would have led me to where I needed to go. But for me, not thinking that was a thing, I went in a totally different direction. So I just want to give you that background because it's going to lead to where I'm trying to land this plane. And I got to hurry up because I'm about to start my challenge, and then we'll talk about that too. All right. So mind you, I had this idea to do that. Okay. Abandoned ship. Didn't do that. Then now I'm going to be a college professor. And some people, if you read my story or listened to a lot of the videos that I have on YouTube, me getting my PhD wasn't this lifetime thought out dream. It was, oh, okay, sounds good. Let me go do that kind of thing. That's the kind of person I am. I was gonna say I was because there was a period of time where I forgot who that chick was, but now she's back. So I did that. And so while I'm doing that, now I'm immersed in this area. And that thought never went away of being like this super consultant, right? But it was like, well, I don't want to do that anymore. Then I allowed myself to get caught up in the personal development space. And why did I say caught up? Because I went to an event to hone in on my speaking. Remember, because being a professor, you do teach, you do you do speak when you go to these conferences and give your presentations, and then when you build yourself up, you get to be the keynote speaker, and then you can get invited to be a speaker at, what, like, all these other side pockets of things. So we teach, we speak, we write, because you have to write articles, books. The name of the game is publish or perish. Of course, research and service. So it's really three things, but I add the other things that makes a whole professor, right? So I was like, okay, well, those things sound good. So God was like, hey, take that idea that you had before and now just transfer it to this over here. Well, God, clearly you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you blessed me in areas of, my education and my health and different things. You got me over like the grief of the death of my mom and my grandfather. Like, those are things where I put God, like, I put God in the bucket, like, well, God, you can handle those things over there. But when it came to like business and like money beyond like generating money, I was good at saving money, really good at saving money. I was able to pay off my student loans because I was very smart. I did have some sound wisdom even when I was in college on being able to do that, right? So I was really good at saving money and investing money to a point, right? And then anything I wanted, I, saved up for. I found ways to do it. Great credit score. I think my highest at one time was 820. And so I knew that part about like saving their money. But when it came to like above that or generating, let me know if that makes sense. It was at first, well, that's not for me. Like, I'm good right here, or this is all I know how to do. And I know I used to say that, well, I would see lifestyles of people and I would say, well, I picked the wrong profession. Education is the wrong profession. I used to speak those word curses over my life, and that's gonna come up in a minute. So, but I was like, but I'm good right here. I would love to have more, but this is what I'm given. So let me maximize this. And then when I got into consulting, I saw a way of, I know I could, bring in income, but it was never going to be like that, like a super, super high level, or so I thought. But that was just me because I had been speaking those words, right? And then I'm trying to look. I had this list. I don't even know when I wrote that. Maybe in 2017, I wrote this list of 7 billionaires in education because God was working on me. I had no idea where I'm about to land this plane, but it was like, stop saying those things. And he started bringing different people just in front of me. And then when I got into the personal development industry and the business development industry, just seeing all types of different people, he was just opening my eyes up to different things. Now, I still didn't focus on what he was trying to get me to focus on. My attention went elsewhere because, again, I said, well, God, you're the God of this over here. But clearly for me, not business, right? Not this level of income, so I'll just listen to what these people say and not you. You may be saying, well, how could you, and this and that, and you were raised better. Well, you do it too in different areas. And you do it by not listening to God or being obedient to his word or studying his word for yourself and not turning away from things he told you not to turn away from. So you do it too. I'm just glad I caught on to mine, and I'm still catching on to mine. And I hope you catch on to yours too. All right. So, and I'm not focusing on that. So I'm like, well, let me go invest in these people because clearly they know things. And I allowed them, no fault to theirs, I allowed them to sway me in a different direction than what God told me to do. I didn't have the confidence and certainty to stand on what God told me to do because I'm like, well, clearly these are the expert people. They know, they're looking at like things that I have already accomplished. Well, go do more of that. Not And then I remember sharing the idea, kind of sort of, this is what I want to do. And it was like, nobody does that. It's not that they were rude about it, but it was like, no, you need to focus on this one thing. You need to do this, hone in a niche and do that and the other. Overall, that is good advice. Like, you do need to focus. But there's always a time where God's word trumps everybody. God's vision trumps everybody's insight. We do go to people for advice and wise counsel, but I did a video about this. But before you do that, you have to be solid in what God told you to be solid on. That way, when they give you the advice, it is filtered through what he has told you. Okay. And you got to hold on to that. And there are times when you just nod and say, okay, and you do what you do. And there are times when you do implement what they're telling you because they can see your blind spots. But the foundation and at the core of what you do is what God told you to hold on to. He gave it to you, He gave it to me, and it's nobody's business. But you have to say, okay, God, I'm trusting and believing. And if you're still kind of like, well, what is it? Do like I did. Just take some time. First of all, here's okay. I am going to keep going. You got to do some stuff and it will be revealed. It is not going to come just by you sitting, hoping, meditating, thinking, and still doing the same mundane task that you're currently doing and thinking God's going to give you this revelation. You have to act and be involved, even if you mess up. I spent 5 years like, okay, you know, and so and even people who are successful, even if they don't believe in God, don't worship God, you don't know their relation with God, they all mess up and do something, but you have to do something, right? Okay, so that's the thing. It's going to come to you in action. You don't know if it's the right or wrong thing to do until you actually do it. And that has been like my style of teaching and coaching. And that was all like coming together. Even when I was teaching as a college professor and the students were like, well, just lecture, lecture. And I was like, no, I'm not going to keep lecturing. I did the flipped classroom. I need you to go do some work, like figure it out, go get messy. And they hated it. Go get messy. Here, I gave you the lecture. I gave you an out. I would pre-record. Here's some things. This is what I want you to look. Now, when we come to class, we can work out your issues or where you've been stuck. But if you just sit right here and lecture and listen to me lecture, and then you try to do the work with me, of course it's gonna look easy, and then you're gonna be out there by yourself when you're at home. And was like, but I thought I had it. So let's go see what you can do on your own. Because at that time, at that level, you done been to school at least 12 years. You know something. So anyway, so that's been my approach, but I didn't transfer this. Okay, just stay with me. That's another insight somewhere. Write it down. Transfer your skills. I didn't transfer. That's how I operate. I allow well, we approach things this way. Again, no fault to any of the coaches that I had. It was me because everything I learned something from every single one of them. And if you join my challenge, either the one that's coming up or if I do this again or something that I'm doing later on in the future, you will learn too. All right. So what was I going to say? Okay, so I didn't transfer that. I was like, okay, maybe not. All right, let me focus on this. Short versions, I'm cutting across the grain. I was like, well, let me do personal development or mindset and personal development. But there was a part of me that still, I wrote this is my first book, practical applications. I was like, practical applications for biblical principles, lessons from my mother. I learned that from my mom. I love the practical knowledge of anything, especially the Bible. And then I started seeing how all of the stuff in personal development came from the Bible. So I was like, I've been learning all of this when I always had the main book, the main resource right here with me. I just didn't connect it. And then I was like, I didn't want to be like that super Christian person. So I would, and you can watch my other videos. I was like, well, let me put God over here. Let's talk about general spirituality because, again, I just saw them as a subject area, not realizing what I was opening up to. And then so I was like, let me focus on that. And I got clients to be to life coach. I started this whole again. Remember, I want to be the super consultant, and then I want to do the same thing with being a professor. Then I came across like the 5, 9, and 12 plus areas of life. I'm like, okay, this is great. There's a pattern here. Okay. So I was like, okay, I can do that. Oh, let me back up. There's another part of my background is STEM leadership, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and then leading people in that direction and teaching leaders how to do that whole dissertation. One, the dissertation is specific on mathematics, but it can be transferred into all those subject areas. But then understanding that STEM is what people mess up. STEM is not like just because you specialize in one of the areas, now you're STEM, you're in the bucket, but true STEM and understanding what that is using all of those subject areas to get your desired outcome, learning how to put every one of those together. And so my mind has always been, let me take all of this and make conceptual frameworks. And I was trained, and it's probably how I got my PhD so quickly, is I didn't realize all of this is new revelation, by the way. I didn't realize that God has always worked my brain that way, like take a lot of stuff and conceptualize, a lot of stuff and conceptualize and make a framework. And so my entire dissertation was a whole bunch of stuff and like from different subject areas, literally, that I had to conceptualize and create a framework for. So I just want you to just watch the thing. All right. So, but me not saying, okay, well, I don't see anybody else doing it that way. And there probably were. Like, you're not always the first person. You're not the first person. You may have a fresh perspective, but you're not always the first person. And that's a good thing. And let me put this in here too. And I'm going to talk about this in my challenge. And I wish somebody would have said this to me. So I'm telling you for free in case, you never work with me, but please take this advice. Don't try to just follow your passion or do just the one thing that you have an idea about. Now, some people may disagree, but I heard this from multimillionaire people and billionaires who've said this. You find your skills, like you look at your skills and your talents, what God has given you, your born skills and your learned skills, the ones that you do the best. Sit down and take inventory of them, apply them to an industry that is already like established. So, example for me, had I really, if somebody would have told that to me, knowing what I know about education and already having a background as an academic coach and all the things that I knew I was good at, leadership, direct, seriously, putting things in place, getting system, and knowing that everything I do, I'm going to get you an outcome and help you get an outcome, mindset, all of that. I had been doing that. Had I really known, or somebody said that to me, I would have looked at the coaching and or training and development industry totally different. I would have just said, "Oh, the subject changed, not the skill set." But I was so focused on business, like I don't know how to do business. Oh, business isn't this, right? And I didn't say no. That's the least thing. Focus on whatever you did over here. Apply it to this industry over here, and that can be in anything. And I realized if I wanted to go into real estate, same skills. I was like, okay, they do these things. Let me go do that. What else? Now I can't think. Look, oh, being a chef. If I really wanted to take what I've to hone those skills and the abilities that I can do, could have been a world renowned chef. I'm just saying, like now I see. I'm like, whoa. So I'm telling you, if don't look at, oh, I just want to help people and sell these little things that I came with, or I help myself get out of a bad situation, so I just want to help other people get out of their trauma. That's not the vibe, right? You will be able to do that, but look at the industry as a whole and go jump into that industry full time. Just like a lot of us who were traditionally trained and got degrees, and then we went forth in whatever industry we went in, and a lot of us dominated and climbed those ladders. And then now you're at this point where it's time for you to either reinvent or transition into something else. Take what you learned over here. Don't always take, well, I don't even have a great example, but you know what I'm saying. Don't just only follow your passion. And this is what literally I was on a coaching call yesterday, and this lady whose company I think now has been assessed at $1 billion, and she you wouldn't even know that this woman was like that, and she did it in real estate, and she said you take whatever that is and go into an industry so you can do that work and build that business so you can generate the income so you can do your passion without the desperation. And I was like, oh man. All right, let me wrap this up, or I hope. So anyway, all of that, and let me know if you're finding value somewhere. I hope you are. Um, So all of that, I allowed things to go so many different ways. I was pulled in so many different directions and, you know, going this way, going that way, going to this coach, just trying to find out why isn't this thing working? Why isn't this business working? And long story short, it was number one, you if you are a believer, you have to come back into alignment with God and tell him you are sorry for putting other people and things before him. It's a form of idolatry, just point blank period. And say, you know what, God, I'm sorry for putting all of those you're like, I'm great. Like, you allowed me. He's gonna allow you to go where you want to go. You have free will. And like, of course, he knows you're going to come back, but you don't know. Like for me, I didn't know I was venturing off, but now it's like, he's going to allow you to do all those things, just like the children of Israel. Okay. Because at some point, especially if you're a child of God, you're going to come back to him. It just depends on how fast you learn the lesson. For me, it took 5 years. It doesn't have to take 5 years for you. All right. So, however, and this is where that scripture comes in, all things work for the good of those, I'm paraphrasing, those who love him, but it's really all things work for the good. Not all good things work, all things work. So I am blessed. Well, first let me back up. So I'm doing that business, and I have coached people. I have life coach. I even got a certification in transformational coach, and I'm like, I'm doing this, but I'm a look, transparent moment, and I was helping people, and I know I was good at it because anything I focus on, and this is what I had to come back to the realization of me and what's true for me. Anything I laser focus on, I'm going to be really good at it. I know that, but I just didn't showcase that, right? Because of all the stuff that happened in my doc program and being a professor, and it was like, well, I ain't showing no more because I don't want to be criticized. I never want to go through that again. But then it's like, oh well, I mean, did you die? No. All right. So I could help people, and I know I could get results in the coaching space and helping people literally transform their lives on the inside out. I have like 3, I think, solid videos on my YouTube channel where you can go watch right now. I think it's like Power Hour. And then I was offering these for free. I had some people that were paying me, and I had a lot of people that were for free. Some of them allowed me to videotape them, some of them did not. So I had put a lot of hours in behind the scene that I did not tell people. And I recorded them, but not to put them out. And I cannot find those recordings, but the people know who they are. And they allowed me to coach them, and they have had tremendous success. I use a lot of them in my testimonials, but I know video testimonials are powerful, but I just did anyway. And so, but there was still something in me. I'm like, but is this it? And it's not that I think that life coaching is like this fluffy thing. At first I did. I understand now truly the power of a life coach. But for me, it was still shaky on the certainty because I've always been results driven, or I like to see people, I help you. What did you do with my help? I like to see the end. That's when I was consulting too, that I bumped heads with the robotics companies because it was like this drive by personal development where we would go in, do a little song and dance, show these people all this stuff, and then be out. And I was like, well, what's the follow-up? How do you know they implement what you're doing? And I would get so irritated because these people pay big money to do this stuff, and they're like, oh, because you got a cute little robot. So what, you give the robot and the teachers don't know how to implement it? What you think the kids are going to do? They're not going to do it, right? And so they were making like millions of dollars like every quarter. And I was just like, wow. And I remember, and I don't think a lot of people know this, I don't even think I shared this. There was one time right before I was going to come into the coaching, I was still like holding on to being a consultant in like for K-12. And I literally sat here, don't cry, like I do my lashes, I got to keep my lashes on. I emailed every single STEM uh, department in every single state, in every single county in the United States of America. I kid you not, thousands of emails. I literally sat there one by one, copy, paste. And I did this like in 2021. And one of them, I got on the phone with uh, uh, a big time director. No, not director. Oh gosh. One of them was, I got on the phone because I was calling people. And I forgot about this, leaving messages on the phone. I did all of that and talked to some people. I did all the things that people said do. Offer your stuff for free. Show them that. And I have drafts even on my website of everything I did in leadership and how things I could put together. I don't even have any tissue in here. All of that. And one person called me, and he was like, well, I'm not the one I can't make the decision because if I give the go ahead, it looks like I'm endorsing. But I think you have a great idea, but I can't say yes because I don't want to be biased. So I think he was the superintendent. And so I appreciate that. And I said, well, thank you so much. And that gave me some hope, but it still didn't work. So, and this is why, like, part of it, I do talk about, and I didn't know there is a spiritual component. There's a level of spiritual warfare if you're a believer. But the practical side of that is you still have to push through. You just want to make sure that you push through in alignment with God so it doesn't take longer than it has to. All right, but I forgot about that. So this is like for me to boost myself up and to say it's okay. You put in time, you put in work. I just never talked about that. So for 5 years, it wasn't like I was just sitting around or I kept doing things over and over and trying different things and learning different things. I invested highly with a lot of people, some well known like celebrity coaches, because when I do things, I go to the top. And I've learned you going to the top isn't always the best thing to do because you'll be surprised how jacked up they are. Or if you're not ready and if you're not clear on what you want to do, you're gonna think that they're not at that. They're at a level of they're going so far and they forget not that it's a bad thing. They don't forget they forget those beginning days. As much as they want to try to remember, they're just not gonna do it. So it's just like when I went back to the school district after getting my doctorate degree, it was very challenging to work with a lot of those teachers because their mindset was just in a different place than mine was. And as much as I still wanted to go back and help them, the advice now that I was giving them was not from the being on where they were, even though I tried, it was from the new perspective that I gained. So I bumped heads with a lot of I got kicked out of 4 schools helping. Just saying. No, I don't think I shared that either. But I did again. So me not understanding that now I can see that if you're not ready for to be in a certain place, or if your mind isn't ready, then whatever help is coming is either you're gonna drown in it, you're gonna think it's not working, you're gonna think they lied to you, and some of them a little shaky, but it's not that they're just not at that place. So you need to be at a level, a starting point, so you can make sense of what they're saying. So I'm just telling you, sometimes it's not always good to go straight off to the top if your mind isn't there. Now, there are some people who started from, I don't know anything, but their mind was in a different place and they had already committed. So they were able to move forward faster. So you just got to check yourself and be honest with yourself. You know what? I'm still struggling here. I don't see it. Like if somebody would have told me, uh, well, no, I did. Somebody told me it's like, you can make about $3.5 million in a year if you just do these things. And they told me that in 2021. Uh, no, I'll say 2021 because I was working with some other high level coaches and they were telling me some things. And I was like, no, they were telling me some numbers and that doesn't work. And then like they didn't work for me. I don't see it. And then this person told me that no, I don't see it. And then so I'm thinking like they lied. The stuff that they're doing is not working for me. Oh, it's your mind. Now, because I worked on that both spiritually and practically, that mind shift. And now when I hear somebody say, you can make $1 million in an hour, I've made $2 million in an hour. It doesn't automatically go to, oh, that's impossible. Oh, that no. What? What? God, no, what? Just a whole no, it doesn't. And then because sometimes you think, oh, it's just for people who aren't Christians. No, God specifically put Christians in my face to say that this was possible. Because I that's what I needed. Some people don't need that. I needed to see that because remember when I shared earlier, I was like, well, if you're the God that does all of this over here, clearly you're not, you're not the same God to work in the business and the money part, So he was like, no, chick, yes, I am. Look. And so all of that to say I did all of that, went into the business, did a lot of different business ventures, and saw incremental success. And I was just like, oh, life coaching. Because now let me circle back around. It's not that I didn't believe in it. I did, but it was still a little shakiness and I want the results. And then so I knew that in my heart that I couldn't just do this life coaching, even though I tried and I was putting things out there. And now I'm like, I know why it doesn't work. Like energy is real. Like your vibes are real. And so it was, I know looking back, it was repelling, like, why aren't things growing? And I was like, I know this work. Or then I'll go listen to somebody or read somebody else's copy. And I was like, my stuff either sound better or sounds the same or sounds better than what they're doing, just being real. But they're getting all the success. What? How is this possible? And then that's when it finally hit me, probably within the last couple of months. Um, and I have been doing the videos about it, and I did series on it, and I was like, this is it. And so I had to, before I did anything, is I had to acknowledge and let the first business, the actual name, go. And that was challenging because it's like, did I fail? And as a high achiever, especially with all the accolades and credentials I have, you never want to fail. It was like it didn't work, but I failed, and it was like that. It the business failed, and it's fine. Failure is not fatal. That's something another coach had said. Failure is not fatal, but when your mindset is like from traditional education, failure is fatal because you don't get to move on. If you fail something consistently, it's like you stop a grade, you stop a class, your degree stops. You can't fail. But in business, entrepreneurship, life, it doesn't work that way. Failure literally is feedback, and you've probably heard that somewhere. And in your mind, you can tell yourself failure is feedback, but for you, you may need it to hear that failure is not fatal. Did you die? Now, when I coach people, I do that, but it was like it wasn't coming to me. But anyway, so with the life coaching, I had to say, okay, God, there's something. I love this. I love doing the deep work with people. I love people getting their aha moments, and I love that for them. And my goal had been to work with really high level people at that level. But then he also knew that there was a part of me that wanted to have something that didn't sound so woo woo. If let me know if you know what I'm saying. So I was like, I needed something, before I accepted the fact that I can be a business coach and business development, because I was like, oh, really? When you look at it that way, for real? I was like, I needed something tangible. And that's why I struggle with calling myself a life coach. And that's why I am the Brilliant Solutionist, because I don't just solve problems or help you solve problems. We look at the best fit solution or the best approach to solve the problem to get you the desired results that you want. And I'm really good at that. I know that for a fact. But I was like, I needed something more heavier on the skill set. And then so God showed me every single thing that I have done over these last 5 years, and the even at the highest level of investments. And he was like, sit down and go back and look at every single thing that you did not, that you felt that it did not work. He showed me what to do in 2020. He gave me an example of how it could work in 2021 when I went to Singapore, and a lawyer was talking to me, and I shared with him the idea, and he was looking at me like, can you help me do that? And me, in my blindness, didn't say, oh, I can help you do that. This is how. I was just like, yeah, that's a good idea. Go do it. And he was just like, oh, okay. Didn't get any follow up, didn't do anything, because I was like, I'm just a professor. Even though I had the idea, he told me exactly what he wanted to do. And I literally laid out the plan for him, because he was like, I love law. I just don't want to practice it anymore. Oh, well, you can write about it. You can go speak about it. You can train other people about it. You can do this. That was it. Just kept fixing our little food from the cooking class in Singapore. had and continued our conversation. And that was that. So all that detour, and I was like, God, what? And so I let that go, let go of the shame of having a business venture fail, a few of them actually, all good. And I came up, he brought me back full circle and said, go back to what I told you. And that's what I talk about too. Probably one of the videos with Revelation, I did a video about that. God is not going to keep giving you fresh insight. He's going to say, go back to what I said before. Go back to what I said before. And you might be saying, well, I am, but it's not working. And so I have this book, go get, I think it was like $2 on Amazon. And one of them, um, I'm trying to read. I read like a lot of scriptures. I can't remember because as I was doing this challenge, okay, moment of transparency. At the time that I checked, like nobody had registered for my challenge. And I was like, well, God, I came back and did everything that you said. But then I was like, you know what? It is okay because I was trained for this when I was in my doctoral program and I went and I did all the things to go speak at this conference to be a speaker. And it was kind of local, so my grandmother came with me. We drove all the way to this place, and my conference, and this happened to me twice actually. One with my grandmother there, and one it was just me by myself. The one by myself, I was there. My talk was on the last day of the conference in the afternoon. People had left, and it was this one lady in the room, and I gave my presentation to that lady and she thought it was the best thing ever. Now, mind you, I had been speaking for years. Do y'all know I could have had a whole big old email anyway? And then there was another time with my grandmother, and again, well, it was two people in the room, three people. My grandmother, somebody who actually wanted to hear what I was saying, and one of my she had already graduated with her doctorate degree. I think she had finished maybe a year or two before me, but I knew her from my doc program, and she just came in there to support me. And I gave the presentation, and no, it was a man, and he worked for this big consulting company, and he congratulated me on because then my friend had to leave because she had to do a presentation. So it was my grandmother and the man of that consulting company, and he congratulated me for going full out like I did, like it was hundreds of people in that room. And so I said thank you, but that was another clue that, like, hey, learn how to follow up and connect with people. I didn't, but I'm telling you, connect and follow up with everybody, because you don't know where it's going to lead. But anyway, so I said all that to say, and I was like, God, I'm doing this challenge. You really know what I want to do. I'm excited, and I've decided like this is it. You've allowed me to take every single one of my experiences, hold them and conceptually put them together for it to be this amazing thing. And I want to share it with others. And I want to be able to help others. And so I said, but if nobody comes, and he was like, if nobody comes, then what? And I was like, I'm gonna do it anyway. So scripture, I read a bunch of them. I couldn't remember, but every time I read them, it was like, what you do is not in vain. Now I can't even find them, but the one scripture I will say, 1 Corinthians 15:58. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. For as much as you know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. I can't remember all the other ones, but every time I read something, it was like your work is not in vain. Oh, here's one. Um, talking about your labor and your work. Ecclesiastes 5:19. Every man also to whom God has given riches and wealth and hath given him power to eat thereof and to take his portion and to rejoice in his labor. This is the gift of God. So it was a lot of these about success, about doing what God told you to do, and you will be rewarded. It is a gift from Him to even have this knowledge, to have this experience, and then to be willing to share. Because I think it's in Luke either 11:25 or 25:11. One of those is that he who refreshes others will he himself be refreshed. And I learned that from a coach too. And I went to go look it up for myself because she was talking about it in terms of publishing books and stuff. And now I can see that with all the other different areas that I've incorporated. I was like, yes. And and God has said he answered my prayer back in 2020, but he's going to get the glory. So he's like, I need you to do it the way I showed you to do it. You've asked me for all of these things, but it's only going to work if you do it how I showed you, because this is the plan I already had for you. Stop bucking the system. So all of that to say, I am start going. Oh, let me back up one more thing. This is longer than I thought. If you're still with me, thank you so much. I don't know if I should make this in parts. We'll see. This morning, I always post on my threads about, because I'm reading the Bible in the year. I always post on my threads. I've been keeping up with that, being consistent with that. So I'll post something if I see a little people on there. I may like something or say something, and I'm going about my business. Don't do that. Go interact with the people genuinely. And then there was someone on there. I've been following her. Like one of the coaches I had, she knows her. So I kind of like I know who she is. I don't actually follow the work that I know what she does. And so she had posted something, and I'm gonna read the actual conversation, because it is going to it's all going to tie together. I'm trying to make this a nice pretty bow. Uh, okay. I'm getting distracted, girl. All right. So there are two things that she said, and paraphrasing. She was like, on her entrepreneurial journey, which inspired me to do this video. She was like, she wants to get into sharing more about her entrepreneurial journey and the lifestyle that she has. And she has a fabulous lifestyle, actually. She's in my state, and the city where she lives in, like she lives that life, and with the family. So, she shares some stuff with her business, and she'll share with her a little bit about her life, but she doesn't share like the entire journey. And I was like, you know what? I was prompted on my walk this morning. I was walking my puppy. Well, he's not a puppy. I was walking my dog, and I was like, I told her, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna share more too. I just had that thought, and I was like, nah, no one cares. And she was like, no, people like to see the behind the journey, behind the scenes. And I realized that even at every critical stage of my life, I've never shared. Like my phone is full of them. I could have been in one of my Instagram names was going to be the it was going to be instant Instagram professor, but it was shortened in a way. And I was like, this is what I'm gonna do this. So I could, like, if I posted what I had on my phone way back then, account would have been popping, okay? Because I just like that kind of stuff. Even with YouTube, I would always do videos and stuff like that, but I never like post them. Like no one would care, even though I saw people doing the same things. Again, it was like, oh yeah, that's for that over there. I kept things totally separate. But anyway, so she was like, yeah, people do like to see the journey, in which I'm gonna talk about something after that. So then there was something else that she wrote, and she was like, I don't work for free. I don't give my opinion for free. I rarely share my opinion on anything unless there's an invoice involved. And I liked it. And some people, probably thought that was, a little cocky or arrogant, but I understood that. And then I said that I thought I'm just being honest. I thought I had that boundary in place, but then I still had people coming to me on certain things. Like, if you know me, I have no problem telling you anything or how I did it. But at the same time, when if that's a business that I'm building, or that is like I get paid for this, then I do think it's disrespectful to be like, oh, well, I know you're trying to do that, but come do this over here for me because you think we have this type of relationship. I have a friend that's a publisher. When I wanted to do both my books, I didn't go to her and be like, well, just let me do this or tell me how to do it all. I do ask her certain questions like, hey, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that. But when it's time to actually, hey, I need this done, I paid her so she can help me do the thing. And that way, so I didn't have to think about it. But I didn't go to her and be like, well, just tell me all the behind the scenes of what I should do to publish my own book. I just got just let me know how to do that, when that's what she does in her business. So then she said, my she wanted to get to a place where she can help friends and family if they asked her for free. Now at first I was like, that's not what I was saying. I don't mind helping people for free. And then I had to check myself, and it was like, well, part of the reason, especially with the coaching part, is you just wanted to help friends and people that were not family so much, but you wanted to help a lot of friends and you were going to a lot of friends and then you got disappointed. So clearly that is what you wanted to do. So you kind of set yourself up. You know, you didn't give the friends the memo. So I had to check myself because I was about to be offended. Like, that's not what I was saying. However, a part of that was right. Subconsciously, that is what I was doing. And so I was like, yeah, I didn't put the friends on notice or set that boundary in place. Well, you kind of did. So when the friends did ask you, you kind of like, you got annoyed. And I was like, it's not their fault. It was me. I said all that to say is, you know, when you really start seeing what I do and how I support people, just don't be offended if there is like an invoice. I mean, I'm not even going to send you an invoice. It's just, you know what I'm saying? And I want you, if you're starting any kind of business venture or things like that, because I also had a coach who says her friends know when if she'll talk to them all day long, but when it gets into the now, show me how to do that, how to set up or do like this, then she's like, okay, you know. So just anyway, I said all that part to say I had to check where I was about to be offended. I had to repent, like, oh, God, I don't mean to be offended. And then say, well, where was that coming from? That's that life coaching part. Where was that coming from? Oh, because on one side, I did show up like that. And I will only reach out to people like that and say, well, I'm just trying something out. Would you mind being the study person for me? And they would be like, yeah. So when now that I've shifted into something different, they still think it's this stuff over here. And I ain't ask anybody to do this part for free, but they were like, "Oh, you do this so often, so what's the difference?" So I couldn't be mad, but I did have to check myself when she said that because she did say if I kept relying on that, then I would be under um, the poorhouse. So I get what she was. That's not what I was talking about, but I do get what she was saying. But anyway, all of this video to say is I now so that now we're talking about sharing behind the scenes and as I get ready for my challenge and I'm gonna be committed to it and stay fast because I really love now what I'm doing. And it is like a promise fulfilled from God. I know God is like, by time, chick. But I do, and now I think it would have still worked the same had I really focused on what he told me in 2020. There was still going to be growing pains, and I think I still would have gotten to this point. It would have been successful to look differently getting to that point. That groundwork would have just been different. I think I still would have arrived, would have just been different. But now, because of the wealth of knowledge and the experiences that he gave me, and while I was in the wilderness for those years, I am grateful that he allowed me to gather. He didn't leave me and I wasn't just out here, but I had sense enough to really soak in and take heed and to actually implement all the things that I learned. And, even though it didn't work for me, I mean, it did work, but it didn't like take off in the direction I thought it was going to go because it was in isolation. Now I'm like, oh, I see. It's the same as when I want to be super consultant. It was the same as when I wanted to be like super professor. It was the same with the advice that I gave that lawyer. It was the same as it looked in STEM. And now I just put all of this together in the umbrella of mindset, skill set, and tool set. And I've been able to hone in the skill set and to show how it all works and to be able to help people create an ecosystem of their expertise and to build their own financial economy. And the scripture, I think it's in Ecclesiastes 11:2. Now it makes sense of the 7 to 8 streams of income. And for some people, it can be totally different. And this is the beauty of this whole life. You can find somebody that it all works for you. But I know for me and how my brain works, it has to work this way for me. It has to be a conceptual framework. And I'm on a mission, especially at this stage, to help people have a solid foundation in those areas. All the skill sets that I talk about to be in one hub: writing, speaking, teaching or coaching or facilitating, business systems and and content creation, video, especially about video, all of that together. And that way that people don't make that same mistake. It's like, okay, you become a hub, and then when you want to elevate and specialize in a certain area, then you can be prepared to go to whomever you need to go to specialize in that. And I was like, well, God, at first I was like, well, does that make me look all over the place? Because if he told me to do it, then it doesn't matter. Like he's gonna make it work. It's on him. It's above me now, right? And so that's what the challenge is about, or that's where this next phase of business I'm going into is real. It is That's what it's about, because I've seen so many people, myself included, try to go in a specialized area. Let's say whether you wanted to write a book and you want to get published, because I've done this. Well, let me go here, and then I learned all the things about how to publish and get contracts in a six-figure I learned that. I know how to do that. But why didn't it work? Because there are some other things you got to build up over here. The person who had that out there, that project, is not wrong. I delivered what I told you to deliver on. But would it have been better had this foundation been solid? Now I can take what she said, even maybe work with her directly, and then really skyrocket. And same thing with speaking. I know so many people who went to like this well-known speaker and speakers and want to learn how to do this and that. And I've sat in some of those classes. I even been a coach to some of those people, and they do it. They get a little speech together, and then that's it. And then it's like, well, what else am I supposed to do? Because they don't have all the other things to work together. So had they had that foundation, now when they went to the speaker thing, other things would take off because they had that solid foundation. So I've literally been able to help people in different areas. And I was like, God, it's not enough. Because he was like, yeah, because I told you to do it this other way. Me not feeling qualified. And now all the things that I've shared with you, I'm myself qualified. I ran down my own credentials. And so uh I had to let go of one business name, one company, to start another one. And now I'm on this journey to build a multi-million dollar company that sells water. And that is, let me say it again. I am on this journey, because let me slow down. I am on this journey. Today is April 23rd. I'm not even going to, I have a timeline, but I'm not going to tell you that timeline yet. And let me tell you why I have this timeline, and I know the timelines are going to work, because when I wanted to, everything I had a timeline on, but the thing that popped in my head was when I made the decision not to choose, or it would be nice to, when I made the decision to earn my doctorate degree in 3 years, come hell or high water, I went in with that decision, and it happened. And God had to remind me, everything that you made a decision about, not that you dabbled in, not that you made a choice, but everything that you were intentional about, I showed up for you and you did it. Business in this next phase of your life is no different. So I'm telling you again, I am on this mission to build a multi-million dollar company that sells water. Now, what is water? I have to give credit to Bishop Wayne Malcolm, because when he said, and I talked about this in my Wisdom and Wealth series that's somewhere on my channel, he talked about that, and I was like, yeah, because I remember now back in, I forgot all those times I would write little parts of this, but I'm like, it can't be possible. This isn't just it. And when he said it, it clicked for me. So, what is water? Again, Bishop Wayne Malcolm, credit goes to him. But he said we can use it, so I'm using it. Wisdom, advice, and training for exceptional results. So wisdom, advice, and training for exceptional results. He has something else. He's a two ways. The other one, something resources. I just blocked that one out of my mind because I didn't want that one. So that's why I was about to say resources, because I was trying to remember the other one he said. I don't know. This is the one I'm going with. Wisdom, advice, and training for exceptional results. That is what I sell. That is the service that I'm providing, and that is the direction that we're going. So I will be sharing more of the behind the scenes of what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm gonna do it yet. Like, I don't know how it's gonna look to share it, But I just know that I want to take people on this journey. I've been seeing on threads like people start sharing like with their YouTube channels. Like somebody was like, I just made 100 subscribers. Like I am so excited. Or somebody was like, I just got 10 views on my video. I'm probably not going to be that micro, but I did go share something about my YouTube channel. Then I saw somebody write about their analytics and growing their Instagram. And just so I don't know like how I'm gonna do it, but I do want to share more. And God, reminded me, He was like, you never shared any other part of your journey. You just showed up and was like, look what I can do. Y'all remember Stewart from Mad TV? Look what I can do. So I was like, well, you want something different, you got to do something different. So that is what I'm doing. uh, I'm not promising you those results. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. But I do know that there are people who have done these things and have exceeded beyond. And like I said, to get to the point where you don't bat an eye when somebody says, it is very possible for you to make $1 million in a year, $1 million in a quarter, $1 million in a week, a day, an hour. And then when you literally see those people and they pull up charts and you can see the numbers, you no longer you get to the place where you can say from that's impossible to oh that's good for them to yeah, let me get in on that. That's definitely possible for me. I definitely want to do that. So that is what I'm doing. Let me go ahead and get ready. It is I don't know, I'm gonna break this up in one or two parts. It is now 10:26, April 23rd. My challenge starts at 12. I'll be ready 11:45. No one signed up yet as of now. I talked about this for like 6 days straight. All good. I'm still going to do it anyway, whether people come or not, because I've taken a different approach. Again, using the things that I've learned, because I know that I can teach something, I know I can tell you to do something, but now the approach that I want to take, especially if I'm calling this the Leverage and Lead Your Expertise and Experience Challenge. And then the offer that I want to share, the boot camp. I mean, if you watch my Wisdom and Wealth series, I think it leads into a webinar that I did about the boot camp that I'm hosting, you get to see the webinar. I think it was like 2.5 hours of the success dilemma that leads into the mastermind that I put on pause. So I may do those, sprinkle those out again, to do those live. We'll see, but yeah. So I'm gonna do that, and I will do the challenge again. So I know if anybody that does show up and let's say they take advantage of my offer or my services, and then it's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to do this again. No, that part is true. I don't know if I'm going to do like the special offer or anything like that. But right now, the challenge is complimentary. The challenge is complimentary, and I know that it will go towards being paid at some point, like in the near future, because people do show up differently. But right now, this is the part I am offering complimentary. And it's not just let me tell you some things. Like I'm literally showing you some actual things to do and challenging you to get the things done. And you can still, whether you want to continue with me or not, it is still something that you can take and expand upon, because that is what I've been. Now, I will say I have been blessed to encounter people on this journey who have given beyond what they should be given, complimentary. And it's probably those are, and I will say those are things, I will say that's the reaping of what I sowed, because I've invested in different areas and been willing to invest in my own learning outside of traditional education. I've invested in this industry as well. And then like some of the people, like the last few coaching calls I've been on, like, how did I even get connected with this person? Have no idea, but I welcome it. So now I'm looking at it as those are the types of investments. So I am grateful. Now I am getting you get the spiritual ROI. And I think that's where a lot of people mess up or they don't think about it. And I had to be humbled and reminded in this way. that you get the spiritual ROI before the tangible. If you're finding yourself getting the intangible ROI, return on investment, know that the physical is coming up soon. That's how it works. That's biblical. Everything that's done in heaven will come on earth, right? I am grateful for that. First, I was kicking and screaming and mad and PO about investing. But again, God is like, because you do what you want to do. However, He's allowed that to be an ROI instead of a COI. And again, that's something else I learned. I will take the ROI and all of that I went through over the COI, which is the cost of inaction. What would my life have been like had I not acted in this direction? And even if I was never fired, or if I did, I found another professor job, knowing what God had showed me, still, what would my life have been like if I did not act on that way? Now I don't want to find out. I can't find out. I can't go backwards. All right. So that's what I'm asking you. And that's another takeaway. I don't even know how many insights we've had so far, but don't anything that you've invested in, whether that's actual tangible money, some other type of resource, or even your time, because that's the most valuable thing that you have. Get to the point where you can see that it was an investment and you will get a return on that. It may not look exactly how you want it to look, but start taking inventory of all the small things that have changed, and they will begin to compound. And when you're grateful for the grateful for those, then you'll see the physical. But a lot of us we ignore all of that and keep looking for the physical. And God's like, I'm trying to get you to pay attention up here. I'm trying to get you to forgive. I'm trying to get you to love more. I'm trying to get you to look at me as your provider. Stop looking at, whether it's the money in the bank account, the car, the house, the relationship, the kid, whatever it is. Stop looking at it. I'm trying to get you to change your mindset and elevate you in this area, because if I gave that to you, you're going to destroy it. So if you have invested, start going back and looking at the other returns that you've gotten. Now, if you have not, because there are some people like, I ain't paying for this, I'm not doing that, this, that, and the other. Well, and then you're looking at how your life is. Well, that's your cost of inaction. Every time you invest, you're going to get a return. Even if you invest in something that's horrible, there's still going to be a return, because all things work for the good. But you can only get the good if you're willing to do the work in some kind of capacity. All right. Let me go for real this time. I thank you so much for listening to me and learning with me, and I invite you on this journey with me. And that's what I told the person that I was talking to. I was like, I share a lot and don't share at the same time. So I'm working better. I'm getting better at actually sharing, like for real, so that there will be no surprise that when you see this multi-million-dollar water, you're going to be like, I was there when she said it. All right. Again, thank you so much. If you want to join my challenge, as of now, it is drvernitaglenn-white.com/lead challenge. I think I'm going to keep that, so that, if somebody's watching this a month from now or 2 months from now, if I'm still going strong on the challenge, then it'll work. And if not, just know that something has changed and go down below and see what I'm up to next. All right. Thank you so much for listening and learning with me, and be well, for real. Be empowered to make bold decisions. Be bold and know that you're always brilliant. And when God said, let there be light, He was reminding you of the command. Because I used to say He was giving you permission, but now I'm looking at it. He was reminding you and commanding you to shine with everything that He's already deposited inside of you. All right. Join my challenge. If not, I'll see you on the other side somewhere sooner or later. Bye.